So, hello, my name is Cian Toomey. Some of you might know me from previous modules, but I'd just like to introduce myself as the lecturer for EC362 Economics of Financial Markets. So, as you probably know, financial markets at the moment are reaching record highs. Today, the US benchmark stock market index, the S&P 500, reached yet another record high. So, there's something going on with financial markets at the moment, and particularly since Q4 2020 started, markets have accelerated up quite dramatically. So, one of the things we're going to be looking at in this particular module is understanding what's driving those record highs for stocks. And to do that, we're obviously going to have to understand, how stocks are valued, the different ways in which you can analyze stocks. We're going to have to look as well at, I suppose, the difference between investing in one stock versus investing in a portfolio. How you can invest what's called passively through ETFs and mutual funds. So we're going to take a broad-based approach really to investments in this particular module. Given the fact that the US stock market dominates, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the US markets. However, we're also going to talk a little bit about European markets. Not so much the Irish market, because effectively it's a very, very small stock market in Ireland, but we are going to talk, I suppose, about global issues in general. And I suppose that's one of the first things I wanted to say with financial markets. You really do need to, I suppose, get a sense of what's happening in the global economy as well. So I know some of you have taken courses in global economics or current issues in economics, and those will come in useful for this particular module. And I suppose one of the things we're going to start with actually is looking at some of the big picture issues, not just short-term issues, but longer-term, say, mega trends and key factors that are affecting the global economy right now. So there will be an overlap between, I suppose, what might be considered applied macroeconomics and this course. There's also going to be an overlap between some of what you might have studied in other modules, such as Introduction to Financial Markets or accounting or corporate finance, for example. So we will be looking at valuation metrics, such as price earnings, price to book, and so forth. So some of you might have a background in that, which will also come in useful. But I'm not going to assume that people have that expertise as such. One of the things I think that's most interesting about this particular module is the continuous assessment. So the continuous assessment for this particular module is broken down into two parts. The first part is really just to get you to read the textbook. So as indicated in the module outline, the textbook is by Bodie et al. Called Essentials of Investments. And there will be a number of short MCQ type assignments to do linked to that. And again, the instructions on how to download the ebook and get yourself registered and so forth are up on Blackboard under the textbook tab. So in addition to the short MCQs, the other thing that is worth mentioning is the equity project. So for that, this year, what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow you pick your own stock. It'll be essentially from the universe of American shares. Again, for two reasons. One, there is a lot more information available on American stocks than pretty much stocks anywhere else in the world. And secondly, they are some of the most interesting stocks to analyze. So what I'm going to do is allow you pick your own stock. And just to make it a little bit more interesting this year, there will be kind of a prize or a kind of award given for the best projects. And I'll explain that later on. But that's effectively I suppose the key part of the initial module. And then subsequent to that, we're going to look at other financial markets. Remember, financial markets don't stop at stocks. The other markets we're going to look at are obviously going to be bond markets. A really important one to look at right now, because one of the big stories, if not the biggest story at the moment, is whether or not we're heading back into a more inflationary period, possibly stimulated by the stimulus that's been discussed in the US and by, say, increases in commodity prices. So we're going to look at bonds and how bonds are priced, how yields work, and so forth. And we're also going to look at some derivatives, so basic derivative markets, those being futures and options. Again, some of you might be familiar with what's been happening with some of the stocks linked to the WSB subreddit group, particularly the likes of GameStop and so forth. We will analyze those probably mostly when we look at options towards the end of the module. We're not going to be doing day trading here. This is much more about investments and understanding how you analyze a company from the point of view of potentially putting into, say, a portfolio, or for a long-term, say, investment on your own behalf. Okay, so that's basically the way we're going to do it. Generally speaking, each week what I'll do is I'll put up a short YouTube video to explain what's coming up during the week, what are the topics we're going to be looking at that week, and give you some ideas about maybe readings and podcasts and so on that you might want to have a look at as well. So we will be making a lot of use of financial data, websites, podcasts, videos, you name it. It'll be up on Blackboard. Hopefully, again, something will happen over the next few weeks in terms of markets that will make it interesting to study. I don't foresee any situation where markets will be boring. There's always something happening, and that's one of the reasons why this particular module, I suppose, evolves from year to year, in the sense that different things are happening in the markets each year. So what happened in 2016 is very different to what happened in 2020, and probably what's going to happen in 2021 will be different as well. And also, nobody here has a crystal ball. If we did, myself included, we'd all be out there trading stocks and making a lot of money. However, we don't really know what's going to happen yet over the next few weeks, a few months to financial markets, because a lot of things can affect stocks, as we're going to see. So what we're going to do this week is we're going to get started, obviously, by looking at maybe some of the key resources that are available for financial markets. Look a little bit about the history of financial markets, where we've come from. Look at some of the current outlooks as well. Highly recommended, actually, that you read some of the global 2021 outlooks to get a sense of what's happening in markets at the moment. And then we'll proceed to go through the material that's linked to the textbook as well, and then continue, as I said, to give you some idea maybe of the project as well. I'll probably do that actually in the second class this week. I know it's hitting us straight away with what's required, but I think it's a good idea to probably get a sense of what's involved in the module, because that will be directly linked to the equity project. And I also think it's going to be quite an interesting thing, because you'll be able to pick, say, a company, a telecoms company, an airline, a semiconductor company, a technology company, supermarket company, whatever, and analyze that as if you are what's called a sell-side research analyst, and use real data, real reports, and so forth to put together your argument as to why, for example, somebody should buy that particular stock. Okay, so the way we're going to work it, just to finish up with today, is we're going to use live Collaborate classes. So those are Wednesdays 5 to 6 and Thursdays 2 to 3. So again, I'm going to be sending on the link today, and I will also allow guest access for the first number of weeks, because I know some students may not have registered for this module or may not have finalized their option choices. So with that in mind, again, just remind you that my name is Cian, and this is the module EC362. And hopefully by the end of this module, you'll have a really good sense of how financial markets work in 2021. Okay, thanks very much.